it comes to superspeedway racing, one of the major things that come to mind is being able to work with somebody, whether it's a teammate, the closest friend, a frenemy, whoever's the closest car on the final lap, many other different methods, to say the very least, when it comes to teamwork. But when it comes to tonight's race, teamwork is a critical part of making the dream work, because Rolling Thunder tonight is hosting a special event. It's the Battle of the Teams, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's action from iRacing's virtual Daytona International Speedway. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside of the booth tonight is Robert Covey. Behind the scenes, our director, Joe Peak, and he's using cameras provided by the great Dougie Beard. Tonight brings us to the World Center of Racing for what's expected to be an intriguing race. There's a lot to talk about in terms of the format, but when it comes to the racetrack, there's a lot to be said in our GSRC track guide tonight.
Welcome to Daytona International Speedway. This track began life after Bill France Sr. realized the Daytona Beach road course had outgrown itself. With ambitious plans and the blessing of the city officials, he built what would become the very first superspeedway in NASCAR history. At 2.5 miles and with 31 degrees of banking, stock cars easily reach speeds of around 200 miles per hour. Pretty much every car can take the course flat out. This makes for one of the most unique styles of racing motorsports has ever seen. The slipstream allows drivers to stay with one another so easily that it becomes less about the speeds each driver can reach and more about the strategy of racing in a pack. Bump drafting is a technique in which the car behind actually pushes the car in front so that both are able to reach higher speeds. And side drafting is another in which the drivers use the air off the sides of their cars to slow their opponents down. Staying out of trouble is always a difficult aspect of superspeedway racing, and it's not uncommon to see drivers intentionally move to the back of the pack to avoid the chaos. In fact, the high speeds make large wrecks so hard to avoid that the term "the big one" has become commonplace to refer to the almost inevitable multi-car pileups the circuit is known for. Also, entering pit lane is its own skill, which requires practice in order to slow the car up as quickly and safely as possible. Keeping the car clean and in contention is the main goal for much of the event. Then the final few laps, it's a race to the line, with any alliances usually dissolving and the driver's urge to win taking over. With it being home to one of the world's most famous races, the Daytona 500, fans from around the globe flock to this landmark circuit. Just like the cars on it, the Daytona International Speedway shows no signs of slowing down.
That was a look at our GSRC track guide when it comes to Daytona International Speedway. Now, speaking of the Superspeedway tonight, it should be an interesting one. We're with the Xfinity Series cars for this race tonight, but in turn, Robert, one of these drivers have been testing what they can get away with for a race like this tonight.
Yeah, Daytona is infamous for, heavy drafting, heavy pushing. You've got to stay off the guy in front of you through the corner. But once you're through that corner, you're going to bump right up on him. 2.5 miles, 31 degree corners, 18 degrees in the tri-oval was probably the trickiest part of drafting here at Daytona. And these drivers are going to have to hold it together for 85 laps.
And in turn, with those 85 laps, it's an intriguing format for tonight because it's not as simple as, it's a couple stops. No, it's 75% fuel for tonight's festivities, which means more pit stops. But here's the thing. There's only 2 total sets of tires in the pits, essentially forcing the potential of 2 tire stops every green flag pit stop situation. No fast repairs, fixed setups, and as mentioned, using the Grand National / Xfinity Series cars. The big thing about the format, though, if you want to win $500 as a group tonight, it's the total of you and your teammate who determines the winner. Meaning, you could be the winner of the race, but if your teammate finishes 24th, that's not going to help you be able to get away $500 by the end of the night. If you're amongst those who run up at the front as a unit, you're more likely to come up with $500 as your top prize this evening, Robert.
Yeah, it's a little different when there's there's some big money on the line here for these teams tonight. So they're going to have to really work. And as you said, no spare cars. So if we see a big one, it could potentially really upset upset what team actually walks out of here tonight with $500. So it's going to be interesting to see how much they fight, how hard they push through the opening laps here, because hurting your car is definitely not something they're going to want to do here with only 85 laps.
So in turn, as you take a look at Jacob Manning hitting the racetrack for the start of qualifying, 5 minutes qualifying to get the running order sorted, a grand total of 12 teams, groupings of 2, 24 total drivers registered for tonight's festivities, many of them regular contenders when it comes to Rolling Thunder. That includes teams like Aero Push Racing with Justin Ryder out and Colin Weatherholt. You throw into the mix, though, some of the potential favorites. Team Who Knows? Here's a look at some of those teams, in fact, on screen, because you have some of those organizations like Upshift Racing that have Michael Larch, who's looked very well in Rolling Thunder with the Gen 4 car, with Dean Gagliano. You throw another contending organization potentially in that first page alone. Matthew Dola showed some good speed on super speedways in the past for After Dark Racing. He's with Ryan Johnson. The bigger hitters are on the second page because you throw in Jacob Manning, who's picked up some wins this season, as we were talking about before tonight. But Team Who Knows, I was just saying, you're talking about 2 drivers who run these types of events for a near living at this point, whether it's Garrett or whether it's his dad, Jason. And then you throw Dylan Jones with plenty of experience in super speedways. That's going to be a tough team tonight.
Yeah, every team in here is going to be really hard to beat. If they work well together, as you were saying in the beginning here, that's what this is all about. Find your teammate, hook up with them, and just run clean and run fast. As Jacob Manning sets our current fastest lap with a 50.916. So we're on board here with Dean Gagliano as he comes around for his first timed lap.
So keep in mind, it does take 2 laps to build up the speed. Gagliano, this time, starting off the first lap, it looks like here. Keep in mind, a few different drivers have different methods these days when it comes to building speed, choosing the lines. A lot of drivers don't like to run necessarily to the wall because of the side force potential, but keep in mind, this is also a race with the oval refresh, and there's still some unknowns on how super speedways are affected when it comes to this.
Yeah, there's one thing with Daytona here is just the different lines that you can run when you're drafting. We saw the track there, 70 degrees. A nice, cool track. These drivers should feel pretty comfortable in the cars tonight. Should have a lot of grip. And Daytona isn't really known for wearing out the tires, but you will burn off those right side tires eventually. So, with only 2 tire sets in the pits, again, it's going to be really all about strategy tonight, is to see which team, can hold it all together through pit stops, through running through the pack, to walk home and walk away with that $500.
Take a look at Jared Hayes, also someone you could throw into the conversation, doing well at super speedways in multiple different series, including when it comes to Rolling Thunder events. He's with Salty Vet Racing for tonight with William Swindenhammer. Michael Larch, top of the board, though, with the 50.4 amongst those on qualifying. Up to the board, though, it's Sean Conqueran, who jumps up top. The 43 machine is up to the top of the board by a few 100ths.
Yeah, he's been making a good run in these series with the Gen 4s. He's really been coming on strong. It's really nice to see him, put this car on provisional pole at the moment as we watch Billy Rickett with a 51.04 coming around for doing his second lap. But yeah, a lot of fast drivers here, a lot of experienced drivers. They know what they're doing, but they're also not afraid to get their elbows out. And I mean, this is Daytona, and with the money on the line, are we going to see everybody very, very cautious, or are we looking at we might actually see a big one here at some point during this race?
Keep in mind, for many of these drivers, a quick reminder, tomorrow, many of these competitors are taking part in Rolling Thunder's All-Star Race. Again, that'll take place tomorrow. Be sure to tune in on GSRC to see who picks up the All-Star Race victory in Rolling Thunder's Gen 4 series, where many of these drivers compete on a weekly basis. Qualifying officially over. 14 of the drivers putting up qualifying time, so another 10 electing not to qualify. And in turn, many drivers looking to play it a bit safe here and stay towards the back, it looks like, to start. Remember, it's about the finishing position. So, it's Conkerman who starts up on the pole, though, with Matthew Robinson in second. Jason Maines, no surprise, up front. He's in third with Michael Lark alongside. Then you have Bo Tiffany inside row 3, his teammate for Tiffman Racing, Jacob Manning, in row 3 alongside. Ryan Johnson and Colin Weatherholt in the top 8 positions. Matthew Dola alongside Dean Gagliano. That's your top 10.
And in row 6, we've got William Schwindenhammer alongside Jared Haynes. Travis Noble and Billy Rickett pull up row 7 and 13th and 14th. Then we have Cody McQueen in 15th, who has not set a qualifying times. Neither did Dylan Jones, surprisingly. Pete Poloni and Ryan Pendleton in row 9. And Justin Rideout and Jamie Barkas in row 10 also did not choose to set a qualifying time.
Towards the back as well, Alex Cruz. He's alongside Jake Collins. The rest of your starters, you actually have one extra, it looks like, compared with the team side of things, possibly. It's Jacob Ellingson, Patrick Drabeck, and Ken Dolan Davis rounding out the order. So that's all talked about, Matt. Your running order estimated for tonight. Again, expecting 24 plus starters for this evening. And drivers still, as you can see with them being on pit road, having some discussions and having those said discussions with live race control tonight. Again, 4 different members of race control are part of tonight's action. Amongst the notables that are part of the crew, you have one of the admins from Admin Box. You also throw in Pete Polini, Robios Jr., and also a 4th member of the crew that looks to assist Alon. Don't have the full name, apologies for that. But for the team itself, expecting a lot of expectations for tonight. Your keys to win the top marks tonight.
Definitely. Lots on, that's a lot on the line. I mean, that's $500 you get to walk home with this, as our drivers are, just getting all their information from race control. I believe they get a 5-minute warm up before we start this. It really does kind of add to the incentive and the clean driving, knowing what's on the line. But you do got to do it for 85 laps, and this is Daytona. A lot can happen.
In your opinion, what team do you think has the best chance, and why?
I really think, Jacob Manning has been really coming on strong this season in the Gen 4 cars, but he has proven he's no slouch, and he really knows how to drive the car, and he's really good at Daytona. He's really good on the long runs. He's gotten even better on the long runs in the Gen 4, so I'm expecting to see a lot from him. And I mean, Colin Weatherholt is another one where, it's not somebody you count out. He always seems to find a way to put himself up near the front. So it's at this stage, before we hit a green flag, it's really anybody's race when these guys matching up. Normally they're racing against each other, and tonight they got to race together. So a little bit of a shift for them for sure.
Indeed, and you take a look at some of the cameras as they get themselves sorted. Among some of the drivers you'll see tonight with cameras, that includes Ryan Johnson. You also throw into the mix several others. Jake Ellingson will have cameras, as well as Jacob Manning. You throw in Jamie Barkas and Patrick Drapick will have the cameras. Let's go through each of these here, as here's a look at Ellingson as he gets himself sorted here tonight.
Yeah, just trying to get set up and, get dialed in here and get ready to run this. This is, you want all your focus here. You want to be the best you can. So we jump on board here with Jacob Manning, and I have to say he won his first race in the Gen 4 a couple of rounds ago in the Gen 4 series, and I mean, just the look on his face was amazing. He was ecstatic. You could see he was physically shaking. We got to see his dad come over, give him a fist bump. I really love having the cameras on the drivers here, especially when they finish well and they race well. It's always good to see what's going on. As now we jump on board here with Jamie Barkas, looks like he's just watching around and listening to the race control and getting settled in here as they get ready to take on Daytona.
And you see the team name for Goat Locker right on the shirt as well. He's a part of the Hayes Gray side of Goat Locker. As a matter of fact, their organization, 3 different entry slots for tonight's event. So they're looking to try and see if they can come up big with strength in numbers, essentially. As there's a look at Drebeck. Look at all the lightning blue.
Yeah, it's great to see just the differences in how everybody, everybody's rigs are set up. And, Patrick here, he's got all the lighting. He's got a really dark room. Somebody opened his door on him. But yeah, it's really interesting to see, what equipment all these drivers have. We saw Jacob Manning, he's running VR. You look at Patrick Drabick here, nicely lit up, full, looks like he's got a triple screen set up, sitting in himself in a really nice rig here. Always great to see what these drivers have when they're running around the tracks here.
So in turn, the drivers now populating for the grid this evening. Once again, 85 laps the distance, 75% the fuel, in terms of the capacity, should say. In turn, expecting the runs for fuel to be under 30 laps, keep in mind. We're talking about potential of 3-4 pit stops in theory here, Robert. How do you plan that as an organization, knowing you can't just take 4 tires every stop? You'll be out of tires by the end of the race. But also, you can't just necessarily put in 18 gallons plus of fuel, and you're going to be in trouble by the end as well. How would you play the strategy tonight? Okay, and I believe we lost Robert there.
No, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we know Daytona isn't really known for wearing tires, but I think when it comes down to pit stops, it's all going to be, again, we're running teams, we're running clean. We're going to have to see as some drivers, do some communication and pit together because, Daytona is a drafting track, and you lose that pack for any reason on a pit stop, you can definitely lose your position and lose a lot of positions if you happen to lose that draft if you take your pit stop out of sequence.
And as the airplane lands in the backdrop, we get set to see these drivers launch off from the green flag. Once again, in control of the field for tonight is Corcoran, should say, as we get set to go this evening. And keep in mind, we already seen, by the way, as we're discussing things there, some drivers nearly hitting each other on this warm-up lap. Mind you,
yeah,
they still have a long way to go.
Sketchy, for sure.
Yes, indeed. So we'll see how tonight plays out for these drivers. Once again, we're quite happy with this. Point Thunder with some money race action tonight in a different format. It's the Battle of the Teams. Each team putting up $60 for a pair of drivers to see if they can come away with $500 as a collective unit. Can these drivers prove they can work together as two to come away with the top spot for the prize pool tonight? Pace car is off. We're glad to have you with us here in the Global Racing Sim on GSRC. The Battle of the Teams is underway from Daytona. Side by side down the front straightaway to start things off already. The top side keeping the power. The inside, no surprise, leading the way to start things off here tonight.
Yeah, everybody nice and clean here. There's some really good drafting. It's going to be interesting to see if anybody wants to push here in the opening stints and move themselves forward. Because, I mean, you kind of look through the field. It looks like a couple teams we got, teammate right beside them. So, one driver in one lane, one driver in the other lane, just how they can line themselves up. Maybe get a feel for the car here, just see what the other drivers are going to be, see the big push there from, I believe that's Michael Larch. Got the wrong, yeah, I heard something about that earlier. The wrong number on his car at this point.
So that is something that some of these drivers do have to have, make sure they're right. Some of these drivers run various paint schemes they've run throughout their various series, hence why you see some discrepancy amongst some of the numbers here tonight. Jacob Manning in turn, having some of the fastest lap. Never mind, that's Barkas now up at the top of the board. Either way, though, one thing noted already from the start, some drivers electing to go straight to the back and sort themselves out, it looks like. Try and get their teammates lined up instead of staying separate and meet later.
Yeah, short race, but a long enough race that, you know, if you're in the back of the pack, pit stop cycles, they should be okay. And you definitely want to run with your teammate. You know, the way it works is, you know, the further forward you both finish, that could mean the difference between going home with nothing and going home with $500, because you know, it's based on total accumulated points on where the drivers finish in the race. As we jump on board here with Jacob Manning in the fray, you know, outside line and 2 cars in front of him. So you can just see the focus, even though he's VR. You can see his face is just one straight line focus, looking forward, and just keeping right on the bumper of, I believe that's Jason Maines on the inside. No, that's Michael Larch on the outside there, I believe.
Keep in mind, when it comes to Maines, he is in that 1 car in sim. That's 12 on the racetrack in terms of timing and scoring. That's in reference to one of the teams he had previous experience with in Elite Center Esports, where they used the 1 number font when he drove what Junior Motorsports Center did for several years. Keep in mind as well, when all of that as well is being sorted here, you see some of the teammates even getting side by side with each other. When all this is sorting out, if you wanted to keep a track of which drivers are running where, be sure to keep in mind that live time and scoring is for tonight. The live time and scoring can be found at GSRC.tv. If you want to keep an eye on your favorite teams and drivers throughout tonight's festivities, and keep an eye on how the teams are doing. So, in terms of the points format, keep in mind, it's 24 points all the way down to 1 for 1st to 24th respectively. As you take a look on board now with some of the other drivers in the midst of this setup, including Johnson, some of the teammates just trying to keep themselves more so side by side than in the same line.
Yeah, I mean, the side draft is pretty good here. So, you know, if you can learn to side draft off each other, you can really keep the pace with the cars in front. We've seen, I'm watching a little bit of, you know, probably a little scary weaving here. But I mean, you can just see here on board with Johnson, you know, just nice and steady, nice and clean. And that's what we want to see, just nice and comfortable. Take the car down the back straight, just kind of let it roll into the corner. Let the car kind of do the work, relax. And, you know, your car will move forward, catch that draft.
See right now some of the drivers just keeping things patient in terms of things. Already a lot of drivers began to be on the bottom. An interesting thing though, a lot of those drivers up on top, especially as Robinson takes the point here with the run outside, are keeping that outside populated despite half the number of drivers running up top. If anything, that middle of the top seems more stronger than the bottom as a whole right now.
Yeah, Daytona has proven that you know, both two lines work. It just depends on the drivers that you're running. As we look at our track temp here, 70 degrees. I mean, they've got a lot of grip in these cars. Should be a lot of grip on that track. They should have a lot of confidence. But you can see the outside line is starting to move on there. And, you know, same thing that we were talking about, you know, it's not, Daytona is really not known for tire wear, but, you know, that outside line, you're not having to turn the wheel as much. You're not having, you know, you're not really burning off that little bit of tire that the inside line is having to. So, you know, big advantage to being out there right now and being able to run with other cars and keep them with you.
Speaking of running with other drivers and other cars in the midst of all this, while Maines is up front, we talked about some teams electing to sometimes split apart, go front to back. Dylan Jones, mind you, he's not been able to go to the front to join his teammate in Maines. For reference on the timing screen, he's amongst those that are running 16th at the back of the pack, about 1.3, 1.4 seconds back. He's just trying to ride around on the bottom. Keep in mind, in the regular season when it comes to Rolling Thunder in the Gen 4 series, he's picked up 2 victories, Him and his close friend Daniel Eberhardt, and a close battle for the championship are running in that series already.
Yeah, it looks like he just kind of lost the draft there. You know, he's picking it back up here too. But I mean, that can be so detrimental here at Daytona. You know, just getting far enough off that car to lose that draft, even though he's got that line of cars behind him, not having that front pull can really, really hurt your momentum. As we had jump on board here with Patrick Dryback again, you know, just in that back line, just running smooth, just running comfortable. Sure, he wants to move himself forward, but again, you know, we're 10 laps in. We got 75 more to go. Be patient, take your time, and you know, just make sure you have a car at the end of the track. As you see the 15 there, just get on that yellow line, which can really upset the car if you take that a little bit too much.
And an interesting viewpoint too when you see these various camera views, because some people go with the basic, you know. It's crazy to call just a steering wheel on your desk basic these days, but you also have the mid-tier, which is your standard sim racing rig, and then you have that top tier that we just seen, which is basically, if I understood that right, it's basically almost like one of the GT chassis where you put the seat inside, have maybe a bit of motion, have your desk basically also technically built in with the frame, with the lighting. It's crazy how big of a difference some of these setups are, to where, to a lot of people, spending $10K on a setup for their sim rig is no big deal.
Yeah, I mean, me myself, I have a full rig. I have triple screens. Actually, I have 4 screens, but I mean, I have a full setup rig. And you know, I'm one of those gentlemen too that when somebody says, "Oh, you play iRacing," it's just a game, and it's, you know, I'm the first one to kind of slap them and go, "No, it's a simulator." And that's the thing, you know, you embed yourself with a lot of equipment, and you really get, you know, right into it. It is simulator. It's the closest thing you'll get to driving the real car on a real track. And you know, a lot of drivers take this seriously, and you know, I'm one of them. And the better equipment you have, you do drive better. It's just how it goes.
Corcoran still leading the inside line, by the way, currently up by 7/10 over Robinson. And keep in mind, those drivers up at the front, we've mentioned this every time at a super speedway, it seems. They'll burn more fuel compared to the others. That's about a lap or two difference by being the leader. And here's the thing, they haven't allowed anybody else to get in front of them to be able to save fuel themselves, so they might be a bit offset on strategy for the first pit stop, at least, here pretty soon.
Yeah, I imagine they're going to be coming in for pits soon, and I'm going to be very interested to see, with only 2 sets of tires in, we're about, we're 12 laps in, are tires even an option on the first pit stop? Track's really cold, lots of grip. Do you really want to take tires, or do you want to just fill it up with fuel and go? Because with the partial fuel load, it's going to take you longer to change tires than it is to put fuel in the car. So it's going to be really interesting to see what the strategy is on the first pit stop here.
Absolutely. An interesting point just forward over towards us involving the sim discussion side of things, because Joe Peak just made a good point. Some drivers earlier today in one of the broadcasts for PT Autosport, for reference, had a chance to get a real-world drive in a Porsche earlier today. You had chances with BIS in the Radical Cup with a chance to run a real Radical amongst those. The curve is getting tighter and tighter in terms of sim versus reality. And it's to the point where one discussion had with a driver from the esports side with that real-world experience in the MX-5s, for reference, mentioned the difference in terms of your performance can be big from a $1,000 setup to $10K. It gets very difficult to turn the curve once you get past $15,000 to $20,000 on a sim rig, which sounds insane. Yes, by that point, you may as well buy your own car. But the higher you go, the tighter the curve.
Yeah, it is. I mean, sim racing pandemic really helped sim racing out a lot. A lot of people really got introduced to it, and a lot of people have really started to, you know, embrace sim racing. And just now that they've seen, you know, professional drivers do this for a living, and you big bump there, just right up. These guys, you know, they've been running really, really clean here, but I mean, sometimes you really got to watch those bumps. You really got to trust the driver in front of you. You know, and the driver that's getting bumps, really got to trust that driver behind you. You know, if you go to bump him and draft him and you give him a little tap and you just offline a little bit, it can really upset the guy in front of you, causing some checkups. So yeah, it's good clean racing so far, but you know, gotta watch those little taps.
Pretty soon, in about 10 laps or so, expecting some of the drivers to start peel down for pit stops. Just about the entire field has maintained the lead draft, mind you. The top 20 separated by about 2 seconds, with a lot of the drivers electing to run single file on the bottom. But already starting to see, for the most part, a couple of the drivers kind of just showing their preference. Do you ride up top and try and see if that is your preferred line, run on the bottom? For the most part, it's pretty clear. Everyone's saying bottom line's the safe line.
Well, and I'm just looking at the strategy here. If we look at, you know, the 35 there of Bo Tiffany, you know, running alongside his teammate. And I mean, right now, you know, if you're on the outside line and we come into around 2 pit stops, that's not where you want to be. You want to be down low. You want to be able to get in the pits. So right now they're running side by side. I wouldn't be surprised to see, you know, his teammate there, Bo Tiffany, kind of back up a little bit and let him slide down in front of him when we come around to pit stops. That's where the strategy of teammates comes in, is, you know, pit stop strategy. How do you stay with your teammate? How do you keep going? As we look back here from Jacob Manning at the 35, and Jacob Manning's got Colin Weatherholt right behind him, who we know can drive these cars. He's shown it in just about everything I've seen him drive in. Giving him a really good, you know, not heavy pushing, but just sticking right with him here.
Separation as well, giving a lot of cushion. We talked about it in the pre-race. Drivers were seeing, can they push in the corners? No, you can, is the quick answer to that question. But for the most part, as to be expected, when you have no faster pair, a lot of drivers will play a little bit more carefully compared to with one, as we've seen in events like this, and in turn, like in official races, and that's been a big part of that too, is the patience level tonight.
Well, it's the patience level right now. you know, I'm sure once we get near the closing area of this race here, we're going to see patience go right out the window. But yeah, no fast repair. No, you know, you got to keep the car clean. You might as well look at this as you're in a real life car. You hit the wall, you get into a wreck. Consider your race pretty much over.
Robinson still maintaining the top side, by the way. Still him and his teammate for Downshift Racing maintaining the lines here. And that's kind of the mindset I had when seeing the red, white, blue, and yellow machines in row 3, essentially. As teammates, one of the big things you can do in a super speedway race, dictate the pace by controlling both the lines. Guess what? They've been able to do so far for Downshift.
Yeah, they've been doing a really good job at it. You know, and if they can get up front, they look like they could really kind of hold the 2 lines up. But that's the thing too. I mean, this is a 2-man team race. This isn't, you know, there was a 4-man, I believe, scheduled. This is 2. So, you know, even if you run with your teammate, if you each run a line and try and hold those lines up, you could end up getting eaten up, or you could end up not having a good day. So I expect to see these 2, maybe after the first pit cycle, if they can get themselves in the front, just run back to front, stay really close, and try and take over the lead of this race. So we come back here with Jake D. Collins, currently running in 24th place. You know, it's okay to be there. Just hope nothing happens. You know, we're still early in the race. Just hope nothing happens in front of him, that he gets caught up in it. But again, this is Daytona. Anything can happen.
And even more so, don't make a mistake in the pit entry and pit exit, because if you're at the back of the pack like this and you end up losing draft, guess what? You're a sitting duck.
Well, yeah, we just, you know, just getting a little info from our director there. Apparently it seems like he's, Jake, maybe saving a little bit of fuel here, maybe try and extend his run coming into pit stops and then be able to move himself forward. And I mean, that may be true for a lot of these guys that are running in the back line here, is, you know, let these 2 front rows run the way they're running, let them burn their fuel up. Maybe get an extra couple laps that they can't get in their tires. Maybe hope for a caution when they pit. So many different strategies can go through your mind here at Daytona, and the different ways that you can move your car forward.
Keep in mind, the further back you go in the pack, the less fuel you end up using, because if you're up at the front of the field, you're full throttle right now. If you go 3/4 throttle as the lead driver, someone's passing you. Just like Michael Larch is doing to try and take his first lead of the race. Look at that. He's broken up the teamwork a little bit up front, with Robinson and Corcoran moving inside for the pit stop separation. Larch wants to try and get some track position and get himself to the point.
Now, 21 laps in here, I'm not sure. What is the stint on a 75% fuel? Are we looking at maybe trying to get themselves organized to come in for a pit stop?
It looks like that may be the case, especially when it comes to downshift, because they've led the entire way. But keep in mind, drivers usually in this car with the full run go about 30, 35 laps-ish or so, depending on how the race is going, the speed, etc. Big thing is, that's less than 30, obviously, when you go 75%.
Yeah, I'm thinking they're going to get maybe the front runners might get, maybe, if my brain math is correct, maybe about 24 to 25 laps before they're going to have to come in. Cars further back, maybe 25, 26, and that's probably pushing it a little bit.
Larch, meanwhile, now is leading the inside line with all the shuffling, and it looks like Manning wants to lead the outside. Here's the thing, just 3 drivers stuck on top. It looks like make it down to 2 as several drivers look to sort out the pit stops. And this is where communication's key, not just amongst teammates, but as the whole field of itself. Because it's not as simple as, hey guys, it's time to keep the pit stop secret. Don't tell anybody you're peeling down or else you'll give away the strategy. If you don't do that in majority of super speedway races, you're getting plowed into down the front stretch.
Well, and I mean, they're under no obligation to say that they're pitting. I mean, it's expected that the drivers you're running with are, running kind of the same fuel pace you are, and maybe know that you're going to, make a pit entry. You got to be alert, got to be on top there. As we see Jacob Manning kind of taking the lead here, just not quite enough to be able to drop down into the low line. But again, his teammates a little further back. But the way the points work here, again, if Jacob Manning was to win this and, the teams get split up a little bit, as long as his teammate finishes high up in the order, they could still walk away with the overall win of this race.
And depending on when these stints fully start here, as we come up to lap 25, mind you, there is the potential of the splash away or the top-off pit stop, should say, later on. Tandem drafting starting to come into play a little bit. That's something to keep in mind for later. Manning is showcasing with some help from Weatherholt that you can get a tandem going despite all 22, 23 other cars on the inside if you get a strong enough push. Obviously, the goal is find a hole soon. It looks like for Manning, he's lost his help because his help nearly turned himself.
Yeah, I think we're looking at drivers getting ready to come in for pit stops. I think Jacob wants to get down here. He wants to get in there, to get down there and get in for pit stop, because you can see, I'm pretty sure that's why the 20 car kind of dropped down, column dropped down. He's probably getting ready to come in for pit stops. Probably next lap around. Because as I said, I think they're about 26, 27 laps with 75% fuel.
Somebody needs to give him space, and he's going to turn into one. Corcoran gets hooked, spin through turn 1, and they all slam in as the caution flag
so
waves.
Many more. Oh, big. Oh, there's big one. Oh, my goodness.
That's about a quarter, if not half the field. And that's what happens when you try and squeeze in like that. Caution flag is out.
Yeah, we'll have to get a replay of that. Looks like Jacob just tried to, push the issue, and, the other car just really wasn't ready for it. Again, just have to get our replay of it here. Oh, that's all the cars. That's a lot of cars involved with that. A lot of cars with heavy damage.
That's going to take out
you can see Jacob here. Just go ahead.
You go ahead.
Yeah, you can see it looks like he's trying to get down. He's out of the throttle. He's trying to get the car down, getting ready to come in for a pit stop. And yeah, it looks like, yeah, I don't know. I think Jacob was fine. I think the other car kind of came up into him. That's up to the stewards of the race to try and figure that out. But from my point of view in that replay, it looks like Jacob was holding his line and the other car just kind of moved to the right a little bit, clipped him, and it sent him around. And just, all these cars in the back feel really bad for them getting caught up in that. They've been hanging back and just taking their time. Let's take another look at this here from a different point of view.
Is there going to be a little bit of an air factor? Curious. Or is it just flush? It's just flush. Just flush. There was a little bit of air, but even then they might have at least at the very minimum scraped.
Yeah, I think a little bit of net code there, a little bit of just not knowing where the car was. Big one. A lot of guys going to be really upset on the radio right now, as everybody's going to come in now for full wholesale pit stops, and it's going to be interesting to see how many cars manage to get back out on track and keep minimum speed here.
Now, we mentioned an offset in terms of our starters. That's because Ryan Pendleton is running on his own. For Ryan Pendleton, welcome to the field in the wreck.
Yeah, that's maybe trying to get some experience in the car. I don't think he really. I don't think he really had the opportunity to because of the way the points work here. But I mean, definitely, get in there and enjoy it. But yeah, just to get caught up in that like that, it's going to take a hit here. As I'm already looking at 2, 4, we got 5 cars, multiple laps down here, and I think we've still got some sitting in the pits.
Haynes, Yoan, and several more with significant damage. You have Corcoran, who was a contender up front early with 2 laps down already. Lots of mandatory repairs. Barcas amongst those already getting significant repairs done. A lot of drivers, their chances may be hurt. And to say the very least, the look of the face says it all. Disappointment.
Yeah, it's one of those deep breath moments as to, could we have avoided that? What happened? As I said, I heard a little bit of a chatter over the radio. I'm not going to repeat. But yeah, probably a lot of, for sure, a lot of dejected drivers in here. But they do have the, you do have the lucky dog turned on. I believe they do have the lucky dog for this one.
Yes.
So, always an opportunity to move themselves forward. And again, Daytona is notorious for this. So we're only 28 laps in. A lot more can still happen.
Once again, we like to take time to talk about the All-Star race coming up. Rolling Thunder, it's All-Star races tomorrow, and guess what? There are some fun prizes on the line. Yes, you finish in the top 5, you get a fancy new webcam. Yes, that is one of the good ones you can get. You can also pick up 6th and 7th place prizes that are $50 gift cards. You can see Top Golf amongst that gift card prize pool in turn. Have you ever gone to a Top Golf? Well, why not be able to get 6th and 7th at least, and you can find out what a Top Golf is like. Some fun prizes at the very least. I think the top 5 will appreciate, a couple $100 webcam for being in the top 5.
Yeah, definitely going to be a fun race tomorrow. Lots of really experienced drivers, and we will be running not the Xfinity cars. It is running the Gen 4 cars, which really puts on a good show. As you can see how these drivers here, you're probably going to see a lot of these drivers in the All-Star race, going for it tomorrow. Definitely don't miss it. It's going to be, I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun.
And you can tune in here on GSRC to tune in to watch the All-Star race. Oh, and by the way, for those who missed the most recent update and missed the oval refresh feature, the Goodyear tires are back. Yes, we're no longer in the alternate timeline where General Tire took over the tire contract in 2007-8. In turn, we're getting set to get back to racing coming to lap 30, Robert. It's been an interesting one so far, and a lot of the drivers separated out, and a lot of teams taking a lot of big hits here.
Yeah, 18 cars still in the lead lap. Our other cars have lost laps. Jacob Manning, really feel for him. His teammate there, you can see is, Holland just sitting up there in the second row. Yeah, I don't even know how to respond after that little incident, but these drivers are going to go back at it, and they're going to come around, and they're going to come and take that green flag, Marty.
Coming up to Barney the Flagman to see how things play out. We're closing in on the halfway point already. And so far, at least a quarter of the field with significant damage. As a result of the big one, many more. At least without front bumpers. Green flag is out. Back and away from Daytona International Speedway. And the battle is back on when it comes to the battle of the teams. And we're already 3 wide of the back as some of the drivers get around some of the wounded race cars.
Yeah, it was full wholesale pit stop, so the drivers are going to feel good, full of fuel, good tires. It's really going to hurt those cars that are running with a little bit of damage now after that incident. We see it. Bo Tiffany here is, battling with Michael Larch on the outside, holding the lead here. So we've had some lead change. We'll see how Bo can run up front. That is the teammate for Jacob Manning. Unfortunately, Jacob now 4 laps down after that incident, requiring significant repairs on his car.
So Tiffany in turn getting some help from the friend's car at this point. And keep in mind, that's going to be something to keep an eye on tonight. It's not just as simple as, okay, our car's damaged, let's get out of the race. It might come down to whoever gets the meatball flags fixed to at least get a couple more points to win this race. Especially if you're Tiffany, you want your teammate in Manning to be able to get back out on the track at least and jump whoever is out of the race fully.
Yeah, most definitely. That's how we were talking about. Is just the way the points work here. Is if you win this race, that doesn't mean you win the event. It is accumulated points of your team. So if you finish first and your driver teammate finishes dead last, well, probably second place in his driver's going to take the event away from you. So I'm sure he's waiting for Jacob to get his repairs and get himself back on track. It looks like Travis Noble has exited the session, and so has Cody Milway.
So a few teammates already out of the respective runs here as a result of the trouble. So we continue on with the action in of itself, though, on the racing circuit. Tiffany's leading the outside, inside line still by Larch. So, as they all settle on in here, we'll see, though, eventually somebody has to figure out a way to gain track position on the circuit itself. It looks like those 3 on the top line behind the main 2 are looking to see if they can fill that gap and gain some spots here.
Yeah, they're definitely moving forward here. They're going to come up here and they're going to catch these 2 and, increase this draft line on the outside line. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, Daytona has become better. That outside line has actually become the more preferred line running in a pack, unless you can get everybody to go single file. We were right on board here with Ryan Johnson, currently running in 5th place. You see a little wiggle with the car there, a little close to the line, but you got to watch those guys on the outside. But looks pretty comfortable right now, just kind of focusing on what's beside him, what's in front of him, not really doing much heavy pushing, just biding his time and running smooth, and that's kind of what you want for at least the next 40 laps.
You can just see the rec group set up just behind him. An interesting thing, I believe that maybe either something shiny or a mirror, and you can just see how much in the car itself. Look at the backdrop right there. You see whatever that is has a majorly reflective showcase there that shows his view out of what's essentially a window/mirror, and it shows what he's essentially seeing from what's essentially a computer on the other side of the room, it looks like.
Yeah, it looks like, that's the monitor in front of him. Of course, he's in VR, he can't see that. But if anybody happens to come in the room, or as we can see now on the mirror behind him as to what's going on and what it looks like, pretty sure that's a mirror, not a window. But yeah, it's definitely interesting to see. You're gonna have to maybe get him to move that big TV behind him sometime so we can get the actual view of what he's seeing through those VR goggles.
The funny thing is, sometimes windows do work like mirrors if it's dark enough, because have you ever tried looking from the other side of the room outside a window with plexiglass? You end up seeing almost like a mirror fixture like that. In turn, let's talk about race cars. Right now, the top line starting to try and shake and bake. Johnson wants to go, and he's found a friend in Dula. He wants to go with him. It's After Dark Racing looking to try and go to the front.
Huge push on him there. He's right up on his tail, giving him a huge push. I'd be worried about that weaving a little bit. You don't want to, upset his rear end, but yeah, just a huge push down the back straight. He's going to try and move him forward and maybe jump over and take down that outside line. Lost a little bit there, but definitely want to go up there, and they want to challenge Bo Tiffany for the lead, along with Michael Larch behind him.
And keep in mind, you see the paint scheme thing for tonight. No surprise, Dale Sr. and Jr., two of the top drivers in the history of Superspeedway racing when you think about it. And now they look to try and showcase, can they work together, as one being the senior, one being the junior, both being, well, they technically both have the last name of the 17 of Matthew Doa on their front hood.
Yeah, it's always good to see shout-outs to real life Hall of Famers, just outstanding drivers. It's great to see sim racers put that out there and just say, you know what, it's this that has inspired me to do what I do. So great to see that paint scheme for sure.
Well, technically, I think they're calling themselves both the Kings of something. I'm pretty sure at the minimum it'd say Kings of Teams. King of Teams. Meanwhile, frustration. That is not Johnson. That, in respect, would be involving Manning. Yes, indeed. He's already taken the goggles off. He is parking it.
Yeah, he looks so dejected, and I mean, I don't blame him. I completely understand the dejection that he would have there. I really don't think that was on him, that incident. And again, that's what this event, that's what this racing does to you. It can just be completely devastating, just as it can be in real life. I know I've done races myself where, you spend all this time getting ready for it and you get knocked out of it. And it is just such a huge knock to yourself and your confidence.
Lap traffic, by the way, starting to become a factor. Two of the drivers involved in some of the incidents getting lapped right there. One was on the front clip. Outside of that, though, the lap traffic seems to be very cordial. We've seen drivers in the past try and blend into the pack. Not going to be easy tonight.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of top speed right now. I believe he's, if we get a close look there, I think he's actually missing his front. One of those cars is missing his front bumper, so not a lot of speed. No sense in trying to get caught up in these live pack of the guys that are running clean cars. Just stick with somebody that you can stick with, and run your laps. Do it for your teammate. If he's up front running, run your laps, move yourself forward, and see if you can't total up enough points at the end of this event to take home the money.
Tiffany still working with Larch on the inside line. Teammates still trying to shake and bake up top side. All that's wow. The question marks still remain about how the strategy fully plays out here. Still about midway through the fuel run for reference. As this all shakes out, keep in mind, if this race was to end right now, obviously it won't. In the words of Michael Waltrip, After Dark Racing would technically be in the prime position. However, there's still plenty of ways to go, first of all. Second, you have an error organization to factor in. Those gold, white, and black machines on the inside, they've been able to find a way to work together now inside instead of side by side, and you can factor in those cars as well for aero push racing.
Yeah, about 13 laps into this stint here. So yeah, based on, I think that caution flag kind of came out at the right time, right about when they were going to do pit stops here. We're on board here with Justin Rideout in 7th. I'm starting to see a little bit more heavy pushing here up at the front onto Tiffany and Larch. It's scary. It always frightens me when you know those front runners do some heavy pushing. That outside line starting to pick up just a little bit here. But the decision's going to be, do you stay with that outside line? And this is where the decision is. Do you stay with that outside line and enjoy the guy that's pushing you and just hold on to it? Or do you get up in front of that 35 car and then drop down in front of him and hope he's going to give you an even better push than you're getting on the outside line?
That's going to be a major question by the end especially. And it's almost to where I'm having to ask the same mindset for later on. Eventually, you see the top already starting to form back up to try and get away from the side draft. Eventually, somebody's going to have to go 3 wide. Well,
and there we go.
Got answered quick.
As you say.
3 wide in the heart of the pack. And that's pulling both the lines back from the top grooves.
Yeah, it's going to really hurt that far outside line. You know, those 2 cars that went down the middle, they just had the run, and, you know, they split the field up. That's really going to take the momentum out of that outside line. Really going to help Tiffany Large, Weatherholt, and Wright out here on that lower line. Really good run on the outside, but he's all by himself here. So unless he can get somebody to come up here and give him a hand, I think he's going to see himself starting to drop back down through positions here.
16 drivers still in the lead pack, all of them in the main pack for reference. About 2 seconds the difference from the head of the pack to the back of the pack. As one more driver falls several laps down. I believe that was Barca's down to the apron that time by. No, that was Pendleton. Big charge though for Alex Cruz. Mentioned his teammate out, so he's now having to wave the flag when it comes to Gold Locker Racing Blue. Ellingson out.
Yeah, huge run there. Got, you know, get up and behind the Robinson here. You know, give him some help. Saw him out there all by himself and said, you know what? This is how I can move forward. Take that outside line, make your way up to him. Now give him as much of a push as you can. Maybe move him past Bo Tiffany in the 35. Or just, you know, bide your time here. Just run as you can run clean. Take a little bit of side draft when you can, but don't push it. A little wide there, you know, as goes down there for that side draft. But yeah, good way to move yourself forward is when somebody's on that outside line by themselves, kick out there, catch up to them, and give them a big push into 3 and 4.
Once again, it's Robinson in control. It's pretty clear the 34 wants to be the leader. And so far, he and his teammate for Downshift Racing, when they haven't been involved in trouble, have done so much of the way as Tiffany now tries to lead the outside groove in turn.
I think he might have seen that huge push that that Robinson got and said, you know what? You don't want that guy pushing you? I'll let him push me, because, I mean, that shove down the back straight just shot him out of a bullet, shot him like a bullet straight forward.
Just past the halfway point, by the way, in this one. Still expecting 1, if not 2 pit stops to be able to close out the strategy in terms of the fuel. So far, Robinson has been one of the consistent front runners for the race lead of itself. The most consistent team for those just tuning in. After Dark Racing was up in front before they got shuffled back 3 wide. Right now, the team in control of its destiny maintains to be Aero Push Racing. Throw into the mix, though. Technically, Upshift Racing quietly has done well with some of their drivers tonight at times. Also, Team Who Knows still at the back, who has 2 of the biggest names in the field. And who knows, eventually, they'll want to make some moves from 13th and 14th.
Yeah, it's still 1 more pit stop to go at least. So, yeah, definitely a strategy that can work. I'm watching, you know, Michael Larch here push, you know, pushing the 34, and I'm just kind of watching him push. It looks like the 34 is just, he's just catching him and getting him a little loose here on the corners. I'm not sure if it's just my display or if it just seems to be getting a little bit too close and causing the 34 car there, Robinson, and just wiggle a little bit, and that can always be pretty frightening. You know, we're 19 laps in the stint. Tires should be fine, but the car is going to be a little loose, a little lighter on fuel. I'm sure he's maybe getting on the radio and saying, you know what, don't push me quite so hard through the corner.
By the way, shuffling back as Tiffany as the top line dissipates a little bit. We're starting to get back to that dance of let's get to the inside and plan things out. This has been the kind of the pattern throughout the race tonight, throughout much of the way, and about 20 laps into the run. In turn, once those up top, this is Dropic should say. His teammate, Dropic I should say, Jamie Barkas is amongst those a lap down. So the Gold Locker Racing Hayes Gray Machine looking to now follow one of his Alliance teammates. Remember, Gold Locker Racing, 6 different drivers separated with 3 different teams. Why not try and see if you can help your other teammates do something?
Yeah, maybe get a kickback from, if the other teammates been, here's a few dollars for helping us out. But yeah, I just love the setup he's got there. Just the lighting, and you can just see how focused. Thank you for our director to get a good look there. Just all that lighting behind him, venting. I'm pretty sure that's probably airflow. Trophies up in the top left corner. His keyboard right there on his right. He is completely set here to just settle in and run his race. Absolutely phenomenal setup. I love it.
I can't tell if that's custom from that faux glance at this point, because it almost looks like it's made out of wood instead of like metal. What you would expect. Yeah, that's wood. He actually looks like he built that handmade to get that wood feel, to get those light strips in. It looks like almost air vents, or maybe pockets for fans that are just behind him.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking too, because I know for myself, I've usually got a couple of fans running when I'm running a race like this, and that's where it comes down to people like saying to me, oh, it's just a game. I'm like, no, you go out there, you run 85 laps, you tell me you're not sweating and your arms do not hurt. This is a simulator. It's not a game. You put everything into it, and you put everything into it to win.
It's not just a simulator, it's a lifestyle. People live in the sim. After all, you never know what you'll have in the world of simulation compared to the world of real life. Yes, I am joking for those who don't get the reference. Down to the bottom, Tiffany now controlling the inside. That leaves just the 2 Gold Locker Racing drivers up top as Tiffany continues to try and sort things out before the pit stop cycle. Again, he is on his own to try and do things here. For reference, Manning is 22nd on the racetrack. If things stand the way they are. Yes, indeed, that is confirmed. Thank you. That's only a couple points coming from the way of Manning. He'd basically need to win out and hope for a lot of luck to get $500 richer.
Yeah, but you know what? You're not going to give it up. A win's a win in this type of racing, any type of racing. As you were saying, like the amount some of these guys put into their simulators, a win's a win. It's always great to stand on that top step. Even if it is a virtual one, it's a great thing to feel, and it's a great feeling to be able to compete against other drivers that maybe are a little better than you, and to beat them. So definitely, who cares if there's $500 on the line at this point? Right now, it's bragging rights.
Lots of traffic, and here we go. Contact as some of the lead lappers run into the lap cars. Caution flag is out. At least 5-6 drivers going around. Another pack of cars go into the grass. And what was that?
I'm counting almost 12. I'm counting almost 12 drivers involved in that. That was, I don't know. Maybe I don't know what was going on there, and maybe what was thinking. Let's get a look here in our replay.
Yeah.
The 89 moves down here, and that happened in front of them. Actually, that happened up a bit.
That looked like the 15, if I seen the number. Yeah, that might have been one of the lap cars that had a bit of contact there. Watch. It's almost like the second line, someone was just flared up a touch compared to the rest of the line and just smacked into the lap cars. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, that was
his own teammate. That was his own teammate.
Yeah, the 07 car did not want to rotate for him, and he just slid right up into him. And I don't know, the 18 there got it. Yeah, just so much. Right on board here, Patrick Trabeck.
What did he see here? Keep in mind, sometimes you have drivers offset a little bit like this. Sometimes you get tunnel fixation to the center where that Chevy logo is compared to lined up to the bumper. Just flares up, hits his own teammate, and causes the second big one.
Yeah, car just didn't want to turn for him, and it really surprising. Wow. Maybe our hardware. Maybe we could say you had a little bit of a hardware failure, and the wheel stopped working. But yeah, just car didn't rotate through the corner.
I don't think that was hardware failure, because if it was hardware failure, he's going straight in that. And no surprise, pit stops under caution. This essentially makes it very interesting on strategy. Remember the conversation on the potential of short fueling? That just opened up again, and it's now real. Both cautions around lap 25 on each run.
Yeah, I think right now with the we get 2 caution laps, I believe, out of this, maybe 3. I believe with caution and fuel save, if they topped up right now and we get 2 more caution laps, they may be good to go to the end. You know, because we haven't really seen green flag pit stop, so it's really hard to gauge, you know, did they have a couple more laps of fuel in the car? I think they may be good to the end.
Now this is going to be really interesting, to say the least. Let's put it this way. If we see pit stops midway through this fuel run or towards the midway point of how many laps to go, that answers our question fast. But at this point, do you even risk taking the green flag pit stop at this point with the way it's going? Or better yet, do you take the top-off strategy and stay at the back and make sure you're fully comfortable, at least, by having an extra half a gallon to a gallon in the tank?
Well, and that's the thing. Again, that's the decision, right? Where, you know, are we going to see another caution? We've got a lot of damaged cars again. So, you know, these lead cars are going to have to come around and deal with these damaged cars that are still out on the track. And, you know, it's just, I think they're good for fuel, but you know, if we go green, I think if we get another caution, we may see a few dive in and maybe grab a little bit of fuel. But I think our front runners, we will probably see stay out.
Here we go.
If we do get another caution as we get ready to go green flag here. I think the lights just went out on the pace truck.
We do have a couple pitters. Team Who Knows ends up coming on in. And keep in mind, if it's someone who knows the fuel strategy, Dylan Jones you can throw into the mix as a super speedway ace. Nearly hit his own pit wall, by the way. Jason Maines, his teammate, also coming in. A couple others following suit to top off and sacrifice the track position that we were theorizing there. Mostly everybody else electing to stay up in the front. And with this, most of the drivers who are up front at the top of the incident are staying up front, including drivers such as Tiffany you can throw into the mix. He looks to lead the outside road this time around, but that mid-pack especially has a lot less cars in it since, you know, as you said, there were about 12 by the time you gathered all the cars out of the grass.
Yeah, I think we still got a lot of cars still actually sitting in the pits getting service. Dean, actually, so we've lost Dean Gagliano. He has taken himself off of the server. His day is done.
Only 13 cars are left on the lead lap, just heard, by the way. That's a lot less cars than you would think with how this race started. And it's not
well, and just the incidents we've seen tonight too. Just, you know, just those quirky, not anybody really driving aggressive, not anybody really, you know, taking risky moves, just that slight little error at the wrong time.
So with that being said, getting all set to get back underway, coming up to about 31 laps to go at the stripe. How will these teams play things out now with fuel mileage being on the minds of many? We'll see how this goes. Coming up to the restart, pace truck is off. And a bit of separation on the inside, really separate up top of the green flag. Robinson leads them off. And no one was ready up top. No one. All sorts of shuffling back as Tiffany and company lose grip off the top and lose spots in turn, trying to go up through the gears. Something called Locker Racing Machines look to gather up. And nearly to the inside, Tiffany couldn't clear it.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe everybody's, you know, get a little frustrated now, but looks like, you know, everybody's starting to get their elbows out a little bit here and maybe making some risky moves, figuring maybe all of the bad stuff is behind them. as we see, you know, Bo Tiffany there kind of caught on the outside. He's going to tuck himself down in here in the little lower line. And I think this is what we're going to see now is we're going to see some, maybe some single file racing. Just everybody settle down a little bit here and relax and get their focus back underneath them. You know, with the only 13 cars on the lead lap, break that down into teams. Let's see if I can get my sheet up here.
Out there, keep in mind, Jared Haynes, he's been quietly running up front in that teal 89. Well, welcome to the party. By the way, his teammate for Salty Vet Racing, William Schwindenhammer, he's been able to avoid most of the trouble so far. He's in ninth.
Yeah, so that's, you know, that's kind of how you want it. You want to have both your drivers up in that, you know, on that lead lap, both running as close to each other as you can. Maybe near the end of the race, hook up and do some work together. As we see the 7 car there on the outside line, maybe trying to go up and, you know, get his teammate hooked up with him here.
We'll see if they elect to try and hook up with Cruz, basically as the buffer car. Well, that's not going to help that choice, as Hayes has his service provider end up saying, no, I'd rather not get help. All that being sorted,
really interesting call there.
In turn, Tiffany stays up top as things get sorted out, and it looks like we may have a driver standing on by here. Remember, that league organizer from Aero Push Racing ends up jumping in. He was a front runner before that incident that just happened in the main pack. Let's talk with Justin Ryder. Justin, first things first, how are things going for you right now after the big one, the second of the race?
Well, I've seen better days, that's for sure.
Well, let's talk about what happened there. What did you see when the flare-out happened and the contact?
I didn't see anything. I just went around. I saw someone bounce off the wall, and that was it. It hit my rear quarter panel and a semi-flyby, so I couldn't tell you more than that. Going back and watching the replay, it looks like the 07 car got into a lap car on the outside, and it just chain reaction from there.
So in turn, of course, you are the main organizer of Rolling Thunder as the league, but also it's money races. Talk about the decision-making of bringing the Battle of the Teams concept to mind.
It was just something new. You know, the way this one's working, you don't necessarily need to win the race to win the money. It's a combined score of both teammates. Each position has an allotted number associated with it. So first place will receive 24 points. Second will receive 23 points, all the way down to you know, coming in last. And then you combine the scores with both teammates, and you add those up, and whichever team has the most points wins the $500. So you don't necessarily need to win the race. It's just based off where the teammates finish.
And in turn, how has that been from the organizer perspective of seeing how things came together for this race tonight, and in turn seeing a lot of team turnout with several Superspeedway ace groups coming out, and several your own team members are, and as well your various teams from the Gen 4 League jumping out and joining this race?
Well, I definitely thought there would be more participation. If you remember, I was trying to put a Battle of the Teams event back in November, but we didn't get the participation we wanted, and that was a team of 4. So I just didn't know if people couldn't find 3 other teammates, so I shortened down to teams of 2 and try to get one more race in before the Christmas break. So yeah, we're still a relatively new league, and so we're still trying to gain momentum, picking up drivers, you know, get our name out there. We're relatively a really clean race, even in the battle, the money races, believe it or not. And you know, our Gen 4 stats and 93.9% green flag speaks for itself. So hopefully people will start seeing this and want to come out more and participate.
Well, the All-Star race is tomorrow. Talk about that as a positive.
Yeah, so tomorrow the All-Star race is going to be it's going to be a knockout format. So there's going to be, I believe, 4 different pit stops where like everybody will you know, qualify and race, and then After 40 laps, then we're going to knock off a certain number of drivers. And then for each stage, a set number of drivers will be disqualified. And then once you get down to the last stage, and I believe it's 10 laps, you're going to have 10 drivers going for the win. So there are prizes to help out the broadcast also. So the top 5 drivers will win 4K cameras. So we'd have more participation in the broadcast. And then 6th and 7th will win $50 gift cards for what's it called? Top Golf. So there
Top
it is.
Golf.
Yep. So just something a little different. No points. There's no points no one's racing for. So picking these cars should be fun at Charlotte, and should be a pretty close pack. There's actually one quick repair. Tires aren't going to be an issue. 100% fuel. So something a little different than what we do in our league. So.
Well, Justin, thank you very much for taking time to speak with us at least. Of course, currently off the track, it appears, unfortunately, with the situation, obviously, in the race itself. But glad to see things going well from the event side and, of course, the league side.
Well, I think you guys do a great job. One of the best out there. And it's been a pleasure, you guys broadcasting our event. So I will see you guys tomorrow.
Yes, indeed. That's Justin Rideout, league organizer for Rolling Thunder, not just in terms of money races, but its Gen 4 league. In turn, getting ready for its All-Star race tomorrow. And in turn, as this has all gone on, guess what? It's single file time on the bottom of the racetrack as everybody decides, let's avoid double wide in case there's trouble.
Yeah, just settling in here now. Maybe a little bit of fuel saving, as we were talking about. Not sure if they'll be able to make it to the end in the back, just based on you know, how they're running here. Jake got a little close to that yellow line, saw the car get a little loose on him. But yeah, single file now. I think everybody's kind of settled down a little bit here, going, you know, just kind of thinking long term. We're coming up on 20 laps to go, so I don't expect to see them single file for very long. But you know, everybody just kind of getting settled in here and seeing, you know, what they've got left for the final stint in this race.
So as these drivers sort together here, we go over to laps to go. 21, in fact, currently. Robinson amongst those in the bottom, keeping an eye on. As that discussion went on, by the way, no surprise, we've seen some try and charge ahead. It worked out very well for the 7 machine. Up to second is William Schwindenhammer. He's just behind Cruz. Keep in mind, his teammate's still up front. So they're currently in the driver's seat for the time being at the team side.
Yeah, I believe the payout right now, the layout, they're in really good position. I'm just trying to look at the other teams we've got up front here. So we have Robinson, who is teamed up with Corcoran, who is down under 20th. He's multiple laps down. Michael Larch, just trying to find him on my sheets here.
Well, I'll keep it simple. Most of the teams are separated out where one driver's at the back, one driver's at the front, essentially, except for you have the 7 and the 89. You throw into the mix of things. Noah's still up there with Ryan Johnson. He's got some friends up there for the time being. Jones and Maines are also working together. They're 10th and 11th. Haynes, keep in mind, is still having some technical issues, so he's going to have some trouble finding some help to gain spots here. But with under 20 to go, it becomes almost towards where it's usually a catch-22. Usually it's the matter of, do you help the nearest pusher or your teammate? Well, it's not as clear-cut when you help someone else. It can cost you $500 as a team.
Yeah, it's definitely something that you're going to think about. Is like, do I really want this guy to push me, you know, or do I want to try and hold him up, maybe get my teammate on the outside line and get hooked up here with a teammate? But as you said there, you know, Schwindenhammer, you know, Cruz, And like I said, the money is always good, but so is bragging rights. Being able to win a race like this, and as I said a couple weeks ago in the Gen 4, we've seen Jacob Manning. I mean, it was just phenomenal watching him win his first event. And I mean, that's what this is all about. The money is great, and yeah, it is really good money. But bragging rights really come into play in races like this.
And I was about to say, usually the strength in numbers comes in big when it comes to super speedways. There's no numbers for Goat Wonka Racing anymore. They have one of their 6 total cars, a part of their 3 teams left. Here comes the tandem. Team Who Knows wants to go 3 wide for the lead. And here comes the chess piece. Dylan Jones bringing along Jason Maines for the lead. Now it's a tandem in the middle line as Robinson gets some help. Trying to push things ahead is Launch as they try and keep things going inside.
Yeah, time to make the move now. 20 to go. As I said, I'm pretty sure they're good. They're good on fuel. So if they can, they can get themselves lined up together here instead of side by side. I'd like to see. Yeah, I was going to say I'd like to see him drop in that inner line there, kind of give up that outer line and get a nice run. Be able to get up around Michael Larch. See Michael Larch peeking on the outside there, maybe thinking about going around him there. Not sure if he's going to get anybody to help him, but yeah, nice little line here. But I think we're going to see them go through that again and possibly hook themselves, the 2 teammates hook themselves right front to bumper and, maybe take this with, coming down to 15 to go.
Windenhammer and Haynes also trying to hook up, you've seen there. By the way, they are separated out instead. It didn't work in terms of their attempt. Keep in mind, you go too late on the move, you're not winning the race. You go too early, you set up the potential for another move back. How would you play this out with this, knowing you've got unlikely friends, so to speak, in terms of the team perspective up front, but you have teammates in the next grouping of 2, then you have groupings all separated out, scattered out just behind.
Well, as you've been mentioning, I mean, it's not really about winning the race here. It's both yourself and your teammate finishing well. So I mean, the play out for me would be don't take any huge risks. You're running where you're running. Just keep what you got. Don't take any huge risks. We're coming down to 15 to go here. Some drivers are probably going to start to push it. We're probably going to see 2 lines come out here in the next 2-3 laps. But just hold your line and just be patient, because right now they are sitting in a pretty position.
By the way, his connection seems to have settled down, so that's going to help in terms of trying to get some help as well, trying to help out his own teammate in case something happens. But with under 15 to go, it's the calm before the storm once again. 13 cars separated by 1.8 seconds. It could be anybody's race. So in theory here, who you're keeping an eye on for the overall win? I'm curious on this now, because yes, it's about the team side, but as a driver, who do you think can get it done here with about 28 plus miles to go?
Well, I mean, Dylan Jones has shown, he knows how to drive. He knows how to make a last-minute pass. We've seen him in the Gen 4, just make moves that other people just won't make. Robinson and Larch, I've seen all these guys drive, and I really can't take any of them out of contention. All these drivers here, really experienced, really know how to move themselves forward, really know how to take advantage of a mistake by the driver in front of them, and can really put their foot down in these cars. And just getting from our director here, there's a good chance they may need to stop for fuel if we continue to go green with 14 to go here, 13 to go, sorry.
And there's a big question to that, because here's the miles per hour. This is a big telling sign. If you are the leader running this slow, in cars that can go up to about 195, 200 miles an hour or down the straightaways, this is essentially not just yourself pushing here. This is the entire field saving fuel, knowing this, and as a unit, almost knowing without saying anything, we can't go 100% or else we're going to run out.
Yeah, I'm not sure if our director can get us a close-up look, maybe at Robinson or Larch dashboard there, just to see it. Maybe they're not, maybe they're not running full throttle right now. Everybody's kind of on the same stint, 20 laps. We got a couple cars, 21 laps. If everybody's saving fuel, definitely an advantage for them. Yeah, it's going to be interesting as we come around the corner here. We come down the back stretch. We're going to come down to 11 to go. Does anybody have enough in the tank to make 10 more laps?
Or better yet, does anybody have the courage to be aggressive with it being close? Because if you're overly aggressive too many times, you're running out of gas in the final lap, or potentially could run out as the better term. 11 to go at the stripe, and lap traffic. Well, that's a good telling sign. They're not zipping by quickly despite the numbers there. If it's taking an extra couple seconds per car just about to pass a lap car on its own, yeah, you're definitely running three-quarters throttle as a whole pack here.
Yeah, so now it comes down to who is able to pull the trigger first. Because we've got 11 to go, and we like I said, we never really got how many laps they can go, but they've done 22 laps on this stint, so that only leaves them probably about 6 more laps of fuel. So I think our director's math is right. I think we're going to see them all actually have to come in for fuel here, no matter how long they save.
And mind you, every run so far, we've had a caution at about 25 laps in. 10 to go this time by. The field needs to go the longest it has to go to be able to close things out. And several at the top line back at the pack, looking to see if they can get track position here. Looks like 3-4 drivers at the back of the pack looking up top, looking to see if they can pick up some spots here, with them being the most likely to save. And the answer is, looks like they didn't get enough speed to do it.
Well, we've only got a couple cars that are, they're laps down, 13th to 14th. But we know a full fuel load on these cars gets you about 33 to 35 laps. We're 23 laps in with a 75%. There's no way they're going to be able to go 10 more laps. Maybe they're going to prove me wrong, but I think, the comments from our director there is nobody's good on fuel here, no matter how much they save.
And in turn, it becomes the question here, too. How much fuel do you put in, or better yet, how tight of a margin do you go on the fuel? Do you bank on a GWC? Do you try and go as tight as you can on the margin? Because even about 2 to 3 gallons more in the tank is another 2 seconds of the pit stall.
I would probably, from what I've seen, I'd probably go at least an extra 3 laps for a green-white checkered, possibly coming out near the end. 3 to 6 laps of fuel, it's going to affect you a little bit, but probably not enough to take you, make the other drivers that much faster. So I would definitely put enough fuel into the car to handle a couple green-white checkers for sure.
8 to go, and once again, 3 cars up top. It looks like several trying to get going, but no one able to get going. The cars are okay. That's just Robinson having some tech issues up front. And that is scary if you're the leader. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, he dropped right off my timing screen there. So
here we go. That sparked up some fears. Everybody wants to go, and they want to go fast with what's happening on the bottom line.
Yeah, outside line pulling up. It's going to be interesting to see what comes down here as we cross the line here with 7 more to go. The outside line getting a huge run here on the inner line. And, we've made the estimate that they are not going to be good enough for fuel. So that outside line right now could be very, very bad for those guys if they cannot make 7 more laps on the 75% fuel load.
It's nail-biting time, to say the least, here with all this. Here comes the run, though, for Maines. He gets the help from Jones. They tandem up top side. The numbers starting to multiply up top. Trying to help as well. Swindenhammer, third in line in that group. Wetherholt also joins up top. To the lead for the first time all race is Maines.
Yeah, it's getting a huge push on that outside line, even to pull up. Question is now, does he move down? Well, he can't move down now. He just doesn't have enough room. Dylan Jones has shown himself to be a really good pusher, really knows how to push the car in front of him. But that is his teammate on the inside beside him. So, maybe he wants to try and, push in there and get it down with his team. I believe that's his teammate, I think.
Yes.
And catch up with his teammate here and let the two of them run tandem and, maybe move away from the field a little bit.
Or should rather say Jones is the one on the push. Regardless, 5 to go at the stripe. Still no clearance yet for Maines fully. Robinson still maintaining pace. And now it's the question. I'm curious of the miles an hour at this point. With Robinson trying to block like this, you have to think if the speed is above 190 right now, they're going from going full save to going full push. Here's a look from Maines. He gets a push, and yes, the pace is picked back up a few miles an hour as a result of everybody wanting to go. Big bubble.
I just watched my timing screen go completely purple, so maybe they've saved enough fuel to be able to finish this race. Everybody says, okay, now we got enough to finish, and the feet have gone down, and we 5 to go here. Elbows are out. Everybody's going to try and move forward as best they can here.
Jones trying to work hard, but it's Larch who has got a good push. Larch is now trying to push ahead Robinson. Robinson nearly gets himself clear of the top line. 4 laps to go from Daytona. Maines with a big run again.
Yeah, really starting to do a lot of pushing here. I've seen a lot of weaving back a little bit back in the line here. Robinson's going to want this win. Maines is going to want this win. I can certainly see maybe even Larch and Jones coming down to maybe 1-2 to go. Making them go 3 wide and just seeing who's got the best coming in through the last lap.
Jones trying to recharge, try and keep the temperatures in check with the fixed setup. Coming to 3 laps to go this time by. Same being said for the inside. And now some apron clipping for the 2 machine. That slows up the inside. Once again, the run goes back outside. All through the straightaways, it's been that way. Here comes a poke though for Cruz. He looks 3 wide. A scissor pluck for the middle line. Checks up the outside as they go 3 wide with 4 or 5 cars up to the wall.
Yeah, I got 3 lines forming up now. Everybody wants to move forward. Coming down, going to be coming around here. We're going to be coming down to 2 to go. And, the elbows are out here now as they come down the back stretch here. This 3rd line's going to try and get a run. Keep them 3 wide, down through 3 and 4. And some really heavy pushing there from Robinson and Larch.
Keep in mind, a lot of those drivers up top, they are laps down. Those are the other Goat Locker racing machines who were in incidents earlier in this one, and they're looking to try and help Cruz. Coming up to 2 laps to go. Remember, to avoid the GWC, they need to take the white flag, and they are getting very close to contact with under 4 miles to go.
Making it very, very nervous here with 2 to go. And I believe they actually, and we've got a wreck. There's our wreck.
No caution yet. We stay green. Now there's the caution. There's the green-white checker trigger. And you can just see it coming.
Yeah, a lot of weaving in the pack there. 3 wide. Definitely somebody's going to break loose there. And it happens to be the 4 car. Let's just get a look here and see what happens to them. Yeah, just, got up track. I think it was just, a little moment, moved up the track, car was there, and nothing he could do there, and just set off that reaction.
Second incident involved in for the 15 machine. That's Davis who gets hooked. And remember, the reason a lot of those Goat Locker racing machines are up there, they had dropped to the back of the pack, let by the leaders, try to help Cruz, and then here comes the 15 up top through turn 1. Yep.
Yeah, just turned down on him. Yeah, 15 just turned down on him. Maybe thought he was a little closer to the wall than he was and kind of figured he better move the car down, and unfortunately collects the 4 in the process.
So there's the green-white checker trigger, and in turn that leaves just 12 drivers with a chance to win it, and a lot of questions on how the organizations play this out. Keep in mind, we talked about how tight it was going to be on fuel. Now it's getting even more concerning because there's not too many cars on the lead lap, but can you risk taking the top off, going to the back, and having to pass X amount of cars here. We're already seeing drivers saving aggressively, and they're not at the pace car yet.
Well, I'm just trying to think here. These are actually the Xfinity cars. So the Xfinity cars, I think, on a full fuel load are actually good for, oh no, we see them come in the pits here. Everybody's coming in the pits. So they're definitely coming in for fuel. I don't think we'll see anybody take any type of tires, but definitely coming in for a splash of fuel.
That answers that question on how tight they were. They couldn't even get a GWC with the whole pack saving. And my goodness, Jared Hayes is taking a big risk. He's staying out, and most of the field is pitting, mind you. Top offs in, Robinson the first out. Just, it looks like 3 at best stay out. Weatherholt and Collins are taking a huge risk here.
Colin Weatherholt doesn't surprise me. Even Jared Haynes doesn't surprise me to see these two stay out. I watch them. I call for the Rolling Thunder series in the Gen 4s, and I mean these guys. I've seen them push their fuels to the limit. They have a pretty good grasp of what they can do with their fuel, what their usage is. They do know how to throttle and turn off the car, and so very risky by them for sure with the green, white, checkered. But if they feel they've got it, go for it. And now's the time to do it.
I'd be shocked over the clutch and coasting right now. Keep in mind, looks like drivers like Johnson and Doyle saving some time. Take a listen. And you can see that jetting back and forth. Normal trends say clutch and coast under the pace collapse. If even then, turn off the engine. Remember, Haynes has been able to save in the midst of the pack much of this race. But it's still to where, if there's a second green, white, checkered, it's even worse. If there's only the one, he may be able to do it.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think if we hit a second green, white, checkered, I don't think they're going to have the fuel to do it. So I think they may be banking right now on, get out there, hope nothing happens behind them, and, take that white flag, get that line marker off the white flag, and hope that the caution comes out after they get past that line.
Couple drivers jetting back down to sort things out. A couple, it looks like, collecting top off, if not the lap cars. As we get the one to go signal. Get a 2-lap shootout. If we get the white flag, it's a race to the checkered. Simple as that. If we get a caution before the white, that will trigger the last GWC. If there's another incident before the white flag, the race ends under yellow. Looks like it is Swindenhammer who was electing to go to the very back here. Keep in mind, his teammate is up front. An interesting plate for the 7 car. We'll see how that goes. Also keep in mind, you have team who knows in row 3. You also throw into the team conversation, you have the 17 and the 38, 10th and 11th for After Dark Racing. Mostly everybody else, they're on their own, of the lead lap essentially left here, outside of Haynes and Swindenhammer with Saltivet.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how these guys take this green, white, checkered stint. We saw the elbows come out there with 5 to go, and now, we're in a green, white, checkered situation. Who's going to push, or is everybody just going to say, you know what, let's finish this race off and get it done and over with? It's going to be really interesting here for these last final laps as they re-enter 3 and 4 here, getting ready to come around, take the checker flag or the green flag.
First green, white, checker just about set to go once again. For the $500, it needs to be the most combined points amongst the 2 teammates in the battle of the teams. So the race win is for bragging rights. The $500 is about which of the pairings are most consistent at the very end here. And right now, that can go any one of 2-3 ways. Pace truck starting to roll off. Here's a look from Ryan Johnson. He's back in row 6. He's amongst those with a teammate alongside. 2 to go from Daytona.
See everybody get off there really clean. I don't expect anybody to hold off here. Everybody's going to go for whatever they can get. So let's just we'll ride along here and just see what they can pull together on that outside line, see if they can make a run.
Maines and Jones looking to do it the easy way. They try and get a tandem going. They look to try and help out the outside line on the setup, but here comes Cruz. He's trying to pull several cars with him. He's looking to bring some help. It's Larch up there on top. It's 3 wide. Oh, well, Witherholt tries to block the lanes. Here comes Robinson up top. Oh, wow, Witherholt gets a push now from Maines. Coming to the white flag. White flag is up on the stand. One more time around from Daytona. 2.5 miles to go. It's Haynes on the inside. He looks to try and maintain the point. His teammate is all the way back in 12th spot. Right now, Maines and Collins amongst those fighting nose to tail, amongst those tight to the doors. 3 wide, 3 rows deep. Make it 4.
Yeah, nobody giving it up here. Robinson, Weatherholt, Cruz, they want this win. Again, bragging rights the money's great, but bragging rights are just as much fun. So we can say, oh, big,
no!
oh, here we go.
Oh, that could settle it there for the 500 for the win itself. It's Weatherholt on the inside. Outside, it's Robinson. Checker flag waves. It is Robinson who gets the edge. And for the team side, Jason Maines and Dylan Jones both finish in the top 10. It may be them who is $500 richer as a grouping.
Yeah, we'll have to see how the points play out here. Big battle in the front there. 3 wide is fun at Daytona, but it can be so nerve-wracking, and it can certainly end up in tragedy. But great run by Robinson, Weatherholt, Cruz, Maines. I mean, all these guys. Really good run to the line there. It's going to be really interesting to see once they lay out the points here who our $500 winning team is. But Matthew Robinson, for the most part right now, has the bragging rights as the winner of the money race.
And that natural bite machine, well, kept itself naturally up at the front. And hold on, there are some wrecked cars out of turn 4. Several drivers trying to sort out the slalom as the celebration starts in the midst of the infield. And it looks like to Dylan Jones and to Jason Maines, at the very least, they think they've got it because they're joining in on the fun.
Yeah, I believe they are I believe they do have it based on the points. Just have to wait for everything to come through here from our director as to who the winners of our money race are. Maybe we can get Robinson in here as well just to, congratulate him on winning the race. Maybe not taking home the $500, but definitely a good run by him to take the win at Daytona in the Xfinity car for the Battle of the Teams.
We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll take a look at the results and get the confirmations in. You're watching GSRC from Daytona. Welcome back to GSRC for coverage of the Battle of the Teams here from Daytona. Gus Brits alongside Robert Covey, Joe Peak, our producer. Let's take a look at your unofficial race results for Battle of the Teams. And tonight had an interesting finish. Strategy was a big talking point. In the end, it goes down to a green-white checkered finish. Robinson holds off Witherholt. The difference about 7/8 of a second. It's Cruz in third, Maines in fourth, but Tiffany in fifth. Dylan Jones finished in sixth. Windenhammer elected to top off and went to the back, but things got crazy for their side after what happened to Haynes. We'll get to him in a second. Johnson and Dua finished in 8th and 9th behind the 7. Haynes, he had that incident on the final lap in turns 3 and 4 that changed the complexion of the battle. He finished still in 10th, 15 seconds back in the last of the lead lap, Robert.
Yeah, now we move on to our 11th place. Jake Collins, 1 lap down. Michael Larch, a lap down. A lot of cars laps down due to the incidents tonight. Kendorian Davis in 13th. Ryan Pendleton, 14th, 9 laps down. Cody Milwane, 10 laps down in 15th place. Billy Rickett. Jamie Barkas in 16th and 17th. Patrick Drabeck, who we were able to ride on board with tonight, ended up 38 laps down in 18th place, with Dean Gagliano in 19th and Justin Rideout in 20th place, all down 38 laps.
Ellingson finished 21st, 16 laps down. Travis Noble, 22nd. You also have the 43, the 9, all out. And the extra car, it turns out, was Pete Polini, who accidentally joined the race from race control as a driver. That's why we had 25 on our initial start. Once again, they're currently calculating the official team winners in that race control discussion. So as they sort things together, let's take the opportunity to talk with Matthew Robinson. He's with Robert.
Hey, Matthew, great win in the race today. It really came down to the line there. How was the race for you tonight?
Well, started out front and pretty much stayed out front the whole time and learned a lot with fuel mileage out front and then following behind cars. And we pretty much stayed out in top 5 the whole race. So, I mean, it seemed pretty easy for me, but saving fuel on the last run was pretty tough. I didn't know if I was going to make it or not. I swear I think I was a lap short at like 10 to go, and I started, saving in the corners and when I could. But yeah, Michael Larch, I'd like to thank him. We were working together good all day, and but awesome to edge it out there with Colin.
Yeah, we were wondering that up here in the booth, just because I think the cautions came out right around the area for fuel stops as to whether or not some of you guys that stayed out front were going to be able to make it on fuel. Definitely some tense moments there in the final laps there, but great for you. Be able to take the win here. They're still calculating points on the teams, but I mean the win overall here at Daytona in these cars has to feel pretty great.
Oh yeah, I mean anything with this league, Justin Rideout's put on, it's anything dealing with that. It's pretty cool to win it, even though I might not get nothing because my teammate wrecked on lap 20 something, and so that didn't help our hopes anything. But I was still out there and still try to win any race I'm in. So I had fun and accomplished what I wanted to do.
Definitely great watching you there. Anybody you want to thank here before we let you go?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Michael Larch. He painted our cars for me and Sean Corcoran. He was my teammate, but he got wrecked out. But I'd like to thank him for coming on, being my teammate and everything. And I'd like to thank Justin Rideout putting on this money race, and he has an awesome league on Sunday nights if anyone's interested. But he puts on some great money races, great prizes. I'd like to thank y'all, GSRC. I'd like to thank y'all for broadcasting, the admins for doing a good job. They did a great job tonight. Overall, good race. Good job to the competitors for having a good race.
Well, definitely put on a great show for us. Thank you, Matthew, for putting on a great event, taking the P1 in the Battle of the Teams.
Yep. Thank you.
Just to squeak in a quick question here in terms of that conversation point, though, I'm curious on this with all this playing out on the strategy side. What was that pack thesis from what we've seen? Because we were seeing speeds down 4 or 5 miles an hour compared to the average at full speed.
Yeah, I think I think once it was 2 cars got in front of me that last run, I started saving pretty good, and I swear I think they were too. Once they figured out they couldn't make it once they got out front, and I still had to say when I was in the lead there at the end, but yeah, it was tough. It was really close. I really didn't think we were going to make it at all, but we ended up squeaking it out and coming up on top.
So in turn, still waiting on the confirmation from race control in this one. We'll see how things go in terms of the conversation and the full viewpoint. But overall, I will say, before things started to bubble over, it seemed like the focus seemed simple for downshift racing, control the tempo at the pack. Is that correct? Why or why not in terms of that thought process of lead the lead packs from the onset?
Yeah, once we were in that position where we were leading starting 1-2. I mean, it was just meant to be just to do that strategy. But it wasn't like we were dragging a brake or letting off. We were just racing, but I was holding the line in control by staying up top. And but Sean did a great job. I hate that he got in the incident early, but I think we probably could have been have a shot at the win for the 500. But anyways, we had a good strategy, good, clean, fun racing, and hopefully we'll do it again here soon.
Well, on that note, Matthew, thank you very much once again for the time.
Thank you.
Matthew Robinson taking away the checker flag for the race in itself, and still waiting for the official confirmation from race control, but the team that did get 4th and 6th finishing spots. In the end, Jason Maines, Dylan Jones now stopping to the broadcast booth here. First things first, still waiting on the official confirmation from race control directly. But in turn, I'll start with you, Jason. Talk us through those final few laps because you went from riding in the back to quickly to the front in about a lap and a half.
Yeah, we basically were in fuel save mode, and then just playing what the race is about. It's not about winning. It's about you and your teammate getting the average. And we'd already watched the 7 drive to the front by itself, so we knew by the lap times in practice, we knew they were in heavy fuel conserve. And even with us not even being up front saving, leading the pack, we were still close. So we knew if we picked the pace up, that was going to be a benefit to us. And then we had a couple of incidents. I think the 34 blinked out like crazy off of turn 2. I think it was like with 3 to go or something like that. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And that's how the other lane got the run. And then for a caution to come out, it's just typical. You're going to come to the white flag and caution comes out. Car's like 13 or 14 laps down. It's like, why? So it's typical plate racing. But this league, Rideout's got a lot of good drivers in here and a lot of respectful people. So a lot of fun, and it's a chess match. That's luck and chess.
I just received the confirmation, by the way, as it was forwarded through to the rest of the field. You guys now have the official win in hand with 40 combined points. That seemed to be the potential possibility. The closest team to you was Salty Vet Racing as well as Aero Push Racing with 28 points apiece. Dylan, how does that make you feel to come away $500 richer as a group? About, if you split it evenly, $250 a person.
I can breathe. I mean, Jason is pretty calm after that win. I was stressing out there, trying to find who the teammates were. And somewhere 1 and 2 or something, the guys on the bottom spun, tagged me in the left rear. I was just like, oh, it's over. But I saved it somehow. There's fuel mileage saving through a lot of that race. Some, I don't know. It was crazy. Jason's pretty calm.
I was going to say, I seen Jason sit there waiting to see do you celebrate or not, and then you tried to burn out, Dylan, and actually hit Jason Maines in the front clip. So basically, neither of you got to burn out. But basically, talk us through that game plan in itself as the race played out, Dylan, from your perspective.
It was kind of fuel saving for most of it. I mean, the start of the race wasn't, but after we got that first caution, everything fell in fuel saving, so everyone was single filed out a lot there. And even till that last thing, we saved, and we were only going to be 1/10 of a gallon to the good if we went green without that last caution. So it was a lot of head games with the fuel. And then it was just trying to keep a track of what teammates were, looking at my phone, trying to add up who was where, and just survive. And thankfully we did.
In turn, curious on this. Of course, there's a lot of history of Garrett Maines coming away with big money race wins when it comes to his side of things. Your son, of course, Jason. But in turn tonight, you get yourself one of those big race wins. How's that going to be like, or rather that thought process of coming away with a big win like this, one of your biggest money race wins for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, Dylan, I'll tell you, I mean, I think, so much luck in this stuff. You got to take care of, execute your own race. And then you got to have the luck to go along with it. And I think in the last, 26, 27 races, I think I've been wrecked in 24 of them or 23 of them. So, I've learned not to get too excited just because you're coming to the white flag. It ain't over until you've made it back around. So it does feel good to finally get some good luck and to have Dylan there with me. And we executed, like I said, the whole race. And those are the things that you can't take for granted. It's communication is so much, and knowing where people are going to be on the racetrack when you're pushing them, it pays off, And so it definitely feels good. And my queen downstairs will get a Christmas present she's been wanting. So that's a good thing.
That's good to hear indeed. And in turn, tomorrow is the All-Star race actually as well for Rolling Thunder in the Gen 4 Challenge. And both of you are among some of the top drivers in that respective series. Dylan, your approach for the All-Star race, because of note, Justin Rideout did mention the format throughout the broadcast tonight after his incident. And in turn, top 5 all get webcams.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be a crazy format he's got going on there. I think we're in the Silver Crown car, if I notice. So I haven't raced those in probably 10 years on here, so it should be interesting.
That should be very interesting. The full format we'll talk about with those on the crew for tomorrow night. Thank you very much for the time, guys. Congratulations on the victory. Congrats on being $500 richer as a group.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you guys putting on the broadcast and all the people showing up for this. And Justin, that was a lot of fun. Congrats to Dylan as well. And I want to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Definitely got to thank him for everything we have going on, and thank Lennox Industries there.
Once again, Jason Maines, Dylan Jones for Team Who Knows, picking up the $500. They are the one who know. They are the top team for the Battle of the Teams tonight. So, in turn, Robert, your final thoughts on tonight as it's Jones and Maines, two of the favorites for tonight, taking home $500 as a team. It's also Robinson, who tried to be the Pied Piper much of the night in the race, taking the win itself for the race.
Yeah, just, you can hear it in their voice, just, a little subdued, just the fact that they actually won it, as he was saying there. It all came down to trying to run the strategy you have and keep your car clean. I think for the most part tonight, great event. I really enjoyed being up in the booth for this one. I would have liked to have seen some really good heavy green flag, maybe a little bit more of a battle between them. But, as I've said all broadcast, this is Daytona, and you never know what happens until the checkered flag drops. But all in all, great drive tonight by all the drivers.
And in turn, we'd like to take the time to thank Rolling Thunder for their hard work in organizing tonight's event for the Battle of the Teams, as the many drivers and organizations for taking the time to take part in the action. We'd also like to give a shout out to special thanks to those on screen that are part of all the broadcasts you see here, along with iRacing, of course, Exploit, Discord, and the many more, of course, due to Lawn as well, for the wonderful music you hear here on GSRC. As well, your upcoming races on screen, but as mentioned, the All-Star race is tomorrow night. Rolling Thunder looks to get a little bit interesting on the format. Justin Rideout alluded to it, and there's a lot of conversations even amongst those in the race less than 24 hours before the race itself. Be sure to tune in to see how the All-Star race goes out tomorrow night, 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time. And be sure to check out the hour broadcast you see listed on screen here. Until then, and until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.